before the first white man set foot here, the local Indian tribes called this place the Deadland. Young children who wandered away from the tribe vanished into the heart of these woods, and sometimes, when the moon was full and the corn was ripe for harvest, a hunter or medicine man would be overcome by a sudden madness and take his own life. Blood would flow into the dry creek bed, and the land would lap it up like mother's milk. Something old and evil had awakened here. It was weak yet, but it was patient. It knew how to wait. In time, white men came. They built cedar cabins and tilled the earth, and passed the land from father to son. But the troubles continued. A family was found hanging in their barn as if by suicide. The miller's child went missing near the creek bed, and returned 3 weeks later, with worms in its eyes and a thirst for blood. The land was thirsty too. In 1962, 60 federal soldiers rode down Murfreesboro Road towards Lebanon. They passed the woods known as the Deadland, and were never seen again. The Deadland, or the thing that dwelt there, had taken them. Fate can turn on such small things. A stone turns beneath a foot. A man takes one road and not another. A wounded Confederate soldier named Herschel Walker returns from the war and passes a slave market, just as the auctioneer leads a woman onto the auction block. Even in her slave rags she is beautiful. The soldier's mouth goes dry. He must have her. The woman, Cerie, was a voodoo priestess who had been sold by the master of a Jamaican sugar plantation and brought to the mainland. Fate. If Herschel had been a kinder man, things might have turned out differently. Instead, at night, he visited Cerie while his pregnant young wife cried herself to sleep. And when the slave girl bore a child, he sold it, unmoved by her tears. But when the Union soldiers came, burning everything in their path, he ran to the garden, where Cerie knelt plucking weeds from between the rows. He grasped her by the shoulders and hauled her to her feet. He pled with her to work her black magic, to ensure the land would stay in his family forever. She told him that the cost of this magic was steep, the life of his infant son, and her freedom. He agreed. It was a black and bloody ritual she had performed that night, and when it was over she reached for a cloth to wipe her reddened hands. When she looked up, his revolver was pointed at her head. It seems he had another idea of freedom. He pulled the trigger. The Union soldiers did not come, and Herschel sired more sons, who married and raised families. He died at a ripe old age and was buried on the property he had loved with all his wicked heart. But this is the Deadland, and not all who die stay dead. A few weeks after Herschel's death, young women of the town grew wan and pale, and sometimes they disappeared into the Deadland and did not return. Undead, the townsfolk whispered, and vampire. The voodoo priestess was all but forgotten, but she had not forgotten. She lay beneath the earth, and it drank her blood and ate her flesh. It fed on her hatred, and it grew strong. Like Herschel Walker and his descendants, she is one with the dark entity that haunts these lands. Damned by the ritual that she performed that night, she guards the portal to eternity. But you know what they say about portals. Sometimes things slip through. Spirits, yes, and worse. On nights like this, when the veil is thin between worlds, they hunt these lands. Take care, traveler, that they do not hunt you.